Welcome to BONA FIDE Dialogues.
Hello, nice to be here.
In a world that's always racing forward, sometimes we need to slow down and reconnect.
Connect genuinely, broaden your perspective, and share your passion.
Bona fide dialogues, where authenticity, creativity, and passion merge. Dan Flanigan is a novelist, poet, playwright, and practicing lawyer. He has published 4 books in a detective series: Mink Eyes, The Big Tilt, On Lonesome Roads, An American Tragedy, chronicling the adventures of private detective Peter O'Keefe and the characters in O'Keefe's orbit as they grapple with the scams, schemes, and scandals of the last 4 decades of our American life. He has also written a book of poetry, 𝒷𝓇𝓃𝓃𝓄𝓏, a memoir of love and death about the last illness and death of his wife of 42 years, and a book of short fiction, 𝒷𝓇𝓃𝓃𝓃𝓄𝓏, Tales from the Razor's Edge.
I would like to start this dialogue by asking you about your journey, your author's journey. Did you always want to be an author as a child or not?
Not as a child, I don't think. My best memory is that it hit me maybe my sophomore year in high school, and it hit me like Saul on the road to Tarsus. It just out of nowhere. I don't know why. I don't have much explanation for it, but I went from being outraged in freshman English class when they wanted us to say what the theme of a novel was. Come on, it's about the plot, right? And to getting completely into classical literature and all that, and saying, hey, I would like to do this myself.
Did you always like reading?
Yes, that's true, and probably was checking out books in the library more than most of my contemporaries. And I do remember very vividly, I went to, in high school, I went to a Catholic boarding school, all male, and much less distractions. You were sort of in prison. And our little library there, I read all the sports books, all the dog books, all the juvenile delinquency books, which were really big back then. And finally, I had to read some real literature and embarked on that. So.
But for some reason, you decided to become an attorney, right?
I don't know if I decided to, or just, life can be like going kayaking down a river that you don't know, where it's going to take you. Yeah, I did, struggling and resisting all the way in terms of being, going the attorney route.
That's interesting. I feel like we all have different passions in life, right? You don't have to pick one area and go all in, right? Like you can be an author, you can be an attorney, and you can do something else. And maybe in different stages of your life, dedicate yourself to prioritize one of those areas, right?
Yeah, I had this author notion, and then for a while in college, I in fact majored in journalism and radio, television, and film. There was a period that I was going to be, the next Francis Ford Coppola or somebody like that, and really intended to go to graduate school out in LA and, USC or UCLA or somewhere. But I didn't quite have the courage to make that leap all by myself. But when I was senior in college, that was the heart of Vietnam, and the draft and the lottery. My number was like 32. So I was destined for not a very pleasant experience in life, maybe. But out of the blue, I was an English major and a journalism major, and I took a course in history, American constitutional history, and I wrote a paper that I can remember turning in thinking, this is terrible, this paper. I got the paper back and it said A plus. This is the best paper I've ever received from an undergraduate. If you want a fellowship to Rice University to do graduate work in history, I think I can arrange it for you. So that took me there. That was the next stage of my life, all in about 2 sentences on the top of a paper handed back to me. And I went down there, and my mentor at Rice had always wanted someone that would go through a PhD in history, American legal constitutional history, and get a law degree at the same time. And I was foolish enough to do that. And my wife, who I think always had a more practical sense of the world than I did, thought it was a good idea too. And I did that and graduated from 2 different universities on the same day in 1973.
You're overachiever.
One with a law degree and one with a PhD. But I never intended to practice law. I did it to get a better teaching job, which I did, by the way. It really helped me. I was an assistant professor at the University of Virginia, which was a great history department. And but I lasted 3 semesters. I just wasn't really cut out for it. And at least at the time, I wasn't cut out for it.
You can still come back to that teaching. Seems like a very interesting
Oh,
career.
yeah. I think I'm too old now, frankly. I mean, to be trying to get some, and I don't know that I want to either. I mean, that's a whole thing in and of itself. And if you're pursuing I'm still a practicing lawyer, and I'm writing. So where do I have time to do that? Although it's tempting to do some of it, but those were the early 70s, and my PhD dissertation and so on was in slavery, Reconstruction, post-Civil War, Civil Rights Acts, and so on. And so I was very committed to civil rights. And an opportunity came up to work for the government in civil rights work. So I came back to Kansas City and was a civil rights lawyer for a period of time, and eventually drifted into private practice of law and became a finance lawyer for a long time. And that's how I ended up a lawyer, always kicking against it, always saying that I should be a writer. I'm ruining my life here, blah, 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 making myself miserable, my wife miserable. I now am glad that I didn't get what I wanted back then.
I believe you took some time off from your legal career to have your own business somewhere in Arizona.
Dan and his wife Candy created Sierra Tucson, a prominent alcohol and drug addiction treatment center in Arizona, and he serves on the board of World Childhood Foundation USA, dedicated to ending child sexual abuse and exploitation everywhere.
Yeah, probably the most important thing in my life is that I'm an alcoholic, a recovering alcoholic, day at a time for 40 some years now. And so at age 35, doing well as a lawyer, but really on the brink of disaster all the time as a, hard drinking, hard partying type of person. And had a 2-year-old daughter, beautiful wife, didn't appreciate any of it. And finally, they did an intervention on me and got me into treatment at a place called the Meadows in Wickenburg, Arizona. And as I'm there, I had vowed if I was going to do this, I was going to put everything up for a new life kind of thing. Marriage, place I lived, profession, all of that. And I looked around when I when I was there and I started thinking about what I was paying for this treatment and the number of people there and kind of thinking what they were doing. I said, I could do this. I could develop a place like this.
Even better,
And
probably, right?
yeah, and insanely, within 6 months of getting out of alcohol treatment, I had opened my own place in Tucson, Arizona. My wife and I did this together, very much together. And it's now, I mean, one of the famous places here in Tucson. And but I could not. I had to break even from the start. That's all the capital I had. And so I was on the brink of failure at the very beginning, although nobody knew it but me. But I brought an investor in and eventually just really had to let him take it over because he had the capital
Yeah.
and I didn't.
But you
So
built something special that helped people. It's sort of you gave back to community.
absolutely,
Yeah.
and even though it may not have been my intention, my intention was more selfish, but it probably saved my sobriety and got me on the right road to 40 some years of recovery, and and it's almost hilarious because I ended up continuing to be married for 40 some years. So I ended up back in Kansas City and as a lawyer. So it's like that T.S. Eliot's got a line of exploring and then ending up back at the same place with a new view of the world. And that's exactly what happened. And turned out that was more for other people than for me, whether I intended it or not. And I'm happy about that.
This is great, I think.
It wouldn't be there but for the two of us.
Did you continue writing throughout your life, throughout this journey,
No,
being
no. The good thing
attorney,
about
building
this,
this business?
I always wanted to, and I might start, but being an alcoholic is problematic for anything other than just surviving day to day. And two, I believe I'm happy I didn't get to write young because what did I have to write about except my own suffering, if you will? To live a life and go through all the things you see and do as a lawyer, for example, it really gives you things to write about. But this period that was not in 83 to 85 when we did the treatment center, moved to Tucson, uh, really lived a completely different life. I started writing in earnest then and intended and I intended at that time to write forever. And I wrote 3 plays. I wrote a novel and some short stories. And for the novel, I had got an agent. I had a publisher. Well, I had a stage reading of one of my plays in New York right off the bat. I thought I was just in, no problem. Well, the theater world is not the easiest place to navigate, and you got to really do it full time and very earnestly, which I didn't even know how to do at the time. And then my publisher went bankrupt, and everything sort of went the other direction really fast. And meanwhile, I had to give up the treatment center. Uh, so I thought, you know what? I'm going to move this writing thing I've suffered so much over off the table. Never going to see it again. And I'm just going to concentrate on being a lawyer, which I did. And and I did for a long time, 20 years. But if you're really gripped by this stuff, it doesn't let you go. And 2012, 13, I wanted to write a book. My wife died in 2011. I wanted to write a kind of elegy of poetry for her. And I pulled this book out that had been agreed to be published back in the 80s and said, this book's okay, it's good. And I did a whole bunch of rewriting of it, and that became Mink Eyes, which was the first book in this 𝒷𝓇𝓏𝓃𝓊𝓏 series. And
Yeah, it seems like
I've
so
pursued
many.
it very diligently since.
Yeah, it seems like there were so many bumps on the road, right? Something always was distracting you from writing, but it seems like it's your main passion. And
Yeah.
right now you have a lot of focus on it, right? But I wanted to start with your poem that you just mentioned. We don't read poetry as much as we used to. People don't write poetry as much as they used to. And I feel like we're missing on something very, very special. Would you agree with me on that?
Yes. I, it's complicated because the first book I published was a book of poetry, but it was, I'm not sure I'll ever do another one. Why? I wanted to write something about my wife and her last illness and death and our relationship. And I started out trying to write a novella or a novel, sort of, and it just didn't work. It just, frankly, wasn't worth a novel. On the other hand, it could be a profound set of poems. And so I wrote what's called 𝒷𝓇𝓏𝓃𝓊𝓏, which is a number of poems, but the main group of poems are 15 poems about her last illness and death and our relationship. And I'm very proud of that. I, I think I did a pretty good job as a poet, even though I don't quite think of myself as a poet. And
I think
the
you did an
reason,
amazing job. I read it and I'm touched deeply. You're saying this poem is about her suffering and death, but to me, when I read it, this poem was about love. It was all about love, it's just so beautiful. And it shows, I think to many people, it can be it can show that love is not something so perfect, right? You showed the reality of love, that it doesn't have to be perfect, ups and downs in relationship, support, and all of that. It's just so real and it's so deep. It shows true love. And I think it's absolutely beautiful.
I really appreciate that because it didn't feel like true love a lot of the time,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, people may think, oh, I don't know if that what I have is real love, but it is.
yeah,
We have this vision about love as it's something perfect, but it's not. This is love.
I sure know it now, and I miss her more every day.
Oh,
So,
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
I might write some more poetry someday, but that was, I'm a narrator. Narrative is what I do best. Or some say dialogue, but that's within a narrative context. And of course, that was a narrative, that group of poems. And so to just, I would love to just sit down and write a poem, out of whatever the ingredients of that day were. But that's hard for me for some reason, and unless I have a story to tell. And so until some theme or narrative that's more appropriate for poetry comes up again, I'm not sure I'll write it again. But that's okay too. If I just did that one, that's what I wanted to do, right?
Because it seems like the poetry, it comes from our hearts, right? From our souls. It's so deep. So that's why it's so difficult and at the same time so easy to write it. When you're deeply touched, it just comes out, right? But if it doesn't touch you deeply, then it's very hard to sit down and just try to write poetry like intentionally. It just has to flow
Mhm.
from
Yeah,
your heart, from your
yeah.
soul.
Yeah.
So now you said you know what love is. So now I want to know, what is love?
Oh boy. The very mysterious thing. Uh, I, I, I'm really speechless. All right. It's, I think of it as, at least in the small sense of a person you're married to or have that kind of relationship, it's the development of a true partnership in life that uh, you're both, without trying to dominate the other one or have it your way all the time, that you're sort of moving along in this parallel uh, path, but mostly separate, but at the same time together and supportive of each other and giving each other whatever you can.
That's beautiful.
I've got a group of stories called Dewdrops, and someone asked me on a podcast, what's the theme of that group of stories? And I really had a hard time with that, but it really is love. It's a bunch of people you know, love is that thing comes at you whether you deserve it or not, and people who inexplicably care for somebody in kind of a cosmic way, really. I mean, it's miraculous sometimes.
It's hard to explain what it is, but
It's giving to others while retaining your own separate integrity, I think.
yeah, it's so beautiful the way you described that. I love that. Yeah, wonderful. But I would like to talk about your other books too.
Well, uh, the progression's been kind of interesting because, uh, of course, a book of poetry, and then the next book I published was Dewdrops, which is a collection, a novella and some short stories that are really what you'd call, I guess, literary fiction. Uh, and I love that book. I just published an expanded, revised edition where I added a story to it. And also, all of my books now, except all of my books are audiobooks as well as they're in every, and I'm really happy how that's turned out.
The four books I'm seeing behind you, they're all connected, right? They're part of the series. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the first two are, the Tenebrae, the black covered one's a book of poetry. The green one, which now a black one in the new version, is the short fiction. And then the four connected ones are this Peter O'Keefe series, which starts in 19. The main character is a private detective who's rescued by his childhood buddy, who's a lawyer, uh, who bails him out of jail because he's in there for cocaine possession. I mean, the guy's a mess, and a divorced uh, young daughter, uh, but separated from his family, all that. And this childhood buddy of his says, I'm going to talk to the prosecutor. I'm going to get you out of here, but you're going to have to do something useful in the world, and I'm going to make you a private investigator. So that's what he becomes, and it's a bit of a fallen redemption, not a bit, it's a fallen redemption story, and now the guy's working through his life, redeeming himself, if you will. The first book starts in 1986. It's called Mink Eyes. And that's the one I wrote back in the 1980s that had the publisher that went bankrupt and all that. And I got it out of the box and redid it in this last 10-year period, just because I had done it before and why not do it? But in the course of it, I thought, you know, it'd be interesting. This thing starts in 1986. If I would take this protagonist and this group of characters around him and take it up as far as I can as kind of a history of our times, you know, where they intersect in some way with some of the major events, and I call it the schemes and scandals of our times. And now it's the fourth book is four are published, fifth is going to come out in December, and I still haven't made it out of the 80s, but I'm on my way anyway to move forward with it, and I'm very happy I fell upon this idea because even though, I mean, I started out and still want to write, hey, I want to write great literature. I don't know if it's even good literature, but that's what I want to do. And yes, this is crime fiction, but it gives me both, instead of navel gazing, it gives me both a compass and an anchor, you know, of where to go, where to take something, and explore some things, both in the society at large and in with these individuals, you know, trying to struggle on with their own lives through it. And I'm just really happy that I've stumbled upon that and was willing to carry it forward because I don't like genre distinctions very much. That probably means I won't sell any books, you know, of any meaningful way, you know, but I think it all ought to be literary fiction, one way or the other. And I was really happy. There's a thing called Killer Nashville, which is a crime fiction conference that's a pretty big deal in the crime fiction world. And I just and they give it awards every year at their conference, and they just had one. They have a number of categories, and American Tragedy, the most recent one, won it in literary fiction, uh, which they have a category for
Congratulations.
that.
Wonderful.
And so I was really happy to be in that category. You know, all this book stuff. I I I think I'm a better playwright than I am anything. And I've now, and I wrote these plays and have, you know, worked them through, and they're very different. I mean, one is about the life of Eleanor Marx, who was Karl Marx's youngest daughter, tragedy, uh, uh, big deal herself in late Victorian England. One of them is about uh, inspired by a character named Alan Freed, who was a disc jockey back in the 50s and who supposedly didn't discover rock and roll, but he was a huge promoter and a huge uh, uh, progressive on racial issues back then and so on. And he got himself in some in trouble and all that. And then the other one is about a bunch of it's called Dewdrops, and I took it and made it into a novella. That's the one that got stage reading in New York. It's about a bunch of a drug counselor and a bunch of patients. So all of those, I'm now that I've got the fifth book done or almost done, I'm pushing the plays for a while and seeing what I can do.
If somebody wants to read your books, right? They're watching this podcast, they found you, they found your books. Where do they start? I understand that this is a series, but they actually can just grab the latest book, or do they have to start with the first one?
I believe that they're standalone. It may help, and I hope people want to, if they read the last one, that they want to go back to, you know, to the others. But and the reviewers have said that. I don't recall any reviewer that's ever said that I needed to read the prior books to appreciate the third or fourth one. And in fact, this fourth one, called An American Tragedy, is really standalone. I mean, it's what it is a courtroom thriller, you know, in a way. And so no, there's no need to do that. And of course, Tenebrae, the book of poems, and Dewdrops are completely different. They're not about any of the same thing.
Yeah, I meant
But
those four books and the fifth one on the way, they're all connected, part of the series. So you can start from the first one, or you can just read any one of them as a standalone
yes,
book.
and deliberately so. At the same time, things are mentioned that occurred before, but only to help set the scene, like any backstory kind of thing, and maybe give a person a little reason to say, "Hey, I'd like to see what's in that previous book," but and they're very different plot situations in a lot of ways too.
How do you come up with ideas? Is there something in your professional career as a lawyer triggers your ideas?
There's a little bit of that and a little bit of all right, now I'm here, I've got to do something else, than that. For example, mink eyes, the main action is about a mink farm. That is, you raise minks to pelt them and sell the fur. When I was a young lawyer, I had a mink farm case down in southern Missouri, in the Ozarks, where here in our area, and believe me, what happens in that case didn't happen to me, but in my book, I mean,
Yes,
but
yes.
but it really was a great springboard for a plot, and so there it was very direct in terms of what happened to me, but then but all the stuff I did from it in the book had nothing to do with real life, and there's the next book's called The Big Tilt, and it the main plot is completely imaginative, but everything's based on your life to some degree.
Experiences, yeah, at some degree.
Uh, Somebody I knew hadn't seen me for a while, and they read one of the books, and they said, "Well, it was like having you here, Flanigan." I said, "It wasn't my intention.
Interesting.
It wasn't my intention." But a subplot in the book is a takeoff on a trial that I did not personally handle, but was a attendant at, because I was very interested in the outcome and very connected to the defendant in the case. So that gave me that subplot. But then the third book, I can't recall anything that, that's mainly about the mafia and strip clubs. And I guarantee you, I don't know. I don't personally deal with it. And the fourth book, American Tragedy, is about the satanic panic, moral panic. And I can remember it vaguely because I lived through it, but it was actually from a podcast I was listening to a couple of years ago, and that really brought home some horrible stuff that happened around that. And I said, if I'm going to tell the history of our times in some way, then I need to do this. I need to do that book.
And the latest one that is
The
not
latest one,
published yet?
the
I don't know
latest
how
one
much
is,
you want to disclose, maybe
well, I'll
a
tell you
little
what,
bit.
no, the latest one is, I think it's very, very relevant. It's about the rise in the late 80s and early 90s of the white supremacist, survivalist, racist, anti-government militia, identity Christian groups, the whole witch's brew that led ultimately to the Oklahoma City bombing. And I plucked a lot of this right out of what really happened back then, and hopefully it's very suspenseful, it's very prophetic, it's very relevant, and very scary. not in a horror sense, but in a
Yeah.
larger
Human
societal,
sense, yeah.
political
Societal.
sense.
Interesting. And you mentioned that you spent some time working on audiobooks. I'm wondering if you could share what you learned during that experience. And maybe you have an advice for authors that have their books published, but they're just considering creating an audiobook.
That has been uh, quite an experience. And uh, my warning before I say this is I've spent probably too much money on those audiobooks, right? That to do it right can be very expensive. And there's a million ways not to do it expensive. So they got everything from an AI approach to the author can read it himself or herself. But I wanted to do just because everybody in the world says everybody's doing audiobooks now, it's the big thing. So I want to make sure I got it out there in that market. But also, and I personally find now that I don't have, I mean, when I look at my bookshelves, I go, did I read all those books? And now I don't seem to have time to read anything other than what is relevant to what I'm writing at the time, except it's amazing how much dead time you have in the car. Even my office is only 10 minutes from my house. But at the same time, I drive around enough a given week, I get through some audiobooks. And it's not the same experience. Often I buy the print book because I can't, in an audiobook, it's hard to go back. It's hard to mark it up.
Exactly.
All the things you do with a book. And, so many people walk, run, do things that they have a lot of time, and that can be a great thing to do. So
I listen to audiobooks in the car all the time.
yeah.
And I
And
listen
I
to
found,
podcasts too.
there's all kinds of things I wouldn't have been able to quote read if it wasn't for that. So I'm very appreciative of it. Or long plane rides, you have it on your phone or whatever. It's great. But anyway.
So first lesson, if you want to
Yeah.
do it right, it's expensive.
At least the way I do it. I want to do one very special thing though. Dewdrops, this play that I got the stage reading of, it's a novella that's almost all dialogue. I just, dressed it up a little bit, and it's the play in a lot of ways. And so I very much wanted to do that as a full cast thing. And why? Because I'm hoping somebody out there will say, we'd like to put this on as a play, right? So it is now, this just happened. The audiobook's out now, and it's part of this Dewdrops collection, but that part of it is full cast, and the people who did it really quickly and easily stripped it out as a podcast. So it's running right now as a podcast. I don't know if a soul is listening to it, but it's there. No matter what's out there, that some theater person or whatever can, one, hear what that play sounds like with professional actors, and two, see what kind of writing I do for the theater. So it can have that kind of impact,
yes,
or that kind of use, I would say. And then American Tragedy, which is the most recent O'Keefe book, I originally wanted to do it to have two narrators, a male and a female, because I had a great narrator on the first three books, but I don't care if it's the best narrator in the world. It's really hard to do a lot of multiple voices and especially male female
And
differences.
especially because you have many dialogues, right, in your books.
Yeah. And what I mean by expensive, so I got in the middle of this and said, I really don't want this and that. And I end up with a full cast on that. And that full cast
That's
is
when it got
expensive.
expensive, right?
Right. So, but I'm very happy with the result. And especially it's a courtroom book. So it's got all of this stuff, of course. I don't know if it ever will, but it's perfect for a limited series, streaming, uh, Bosch, if you know what that is, things like that. So it may be my heirs that benefit from that, not me, but that's okay.
That's your dream, huh?
I don't know if it's not a dream, but I'm living the dream already. But it would be a nice result.
Yeah. That's not it can be a dream. Why not?
Yeah. Well,
Or
no,
to go.
in a way, I don't need any more dreams. I got it. It's good. It's good.
Interesting.
I mean, it's
You
good
don't, you don't need any
it's
more
good
dreams? Why is that? Why do you say that? I'm just curious. You don't
because
need any
of
more dreams?
because of so much of my life, I made myself so miserable by by not wanting what I had, but wanting something else. And now I'm
Mm,
glad I didn't have it then and have it now. And so I actually am able at this late stage to fulfill the dream. And whatever egotistical reason I had to be doing it in the first place. Somebody asked me recently, "Why'd you start writing?" I said, "I don't know, to get girls. I don't know." But and they didn't like that answer. But now I'm doing it because I like to do it. And even though and I'll tell this to everybody, it ain't any fun. It's fun to finish, but it's hard. It's not easy, and you got to drive yourself. But uh, but I woke up here fairly recently, I guess, and said, "I'm just doing this to get my name out there. I'm doing it because I like it." So it's been a great thing. That's why I say I don't need any more dreams.
yeah, be more present in the moment and enjoy your life
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Since
I like
I
how
live
you,
my
you
whole
said,
life
I'm living my
opposite.
dream. Yeah, I'm living my dream. I think we all should see our lives this way. I'm living my dream. What I'm doing today is maybe something I was dreaming about years ago. We just always look back or we look ahead of us, but it's so important to appreciate the moment.
Yeah, it's good to have wanted to do this and then, but never knowing whether you were any good at it at all. And then taking the risk and putting it out there. Uh, I'm not good at failure and at handling failure, I mean, and uh, and have enough validation, awards, reviews, whatever it is, that that's a good thing too. But high risk that you're wasting your time, all that.
Hmm. You're not wasting your time because you're enjoying the process, right? Even though it's hard, not everything we enjoy has to be easy or fun, right?
Guarantee. Yeah.
And another good point you just made that it's very hard to put it out there and being judged, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Very
Yeah, you
scary.
kind of need to be brave and confident, right?
I don't know about confident. You have to be either brave or foolish, a little both.
Especially you established attorney. You know, attorneys always think about their reputation.
Hey, you know what? My first round I did under a pseudonym. I was so afraid of it coming back to me in court or somewhere, or reflect on my firm or whatever. Uh, And at some point, I realized it's pretty hard to market a book when you can't identify yourself. So,
Yeah.
so I actually republished all the books I had done up to that point in my own name. But there you go.
But you should be proud of yourself. It's a lot of work and it's time consuming. Yeah, the writing takes time. But nowadays people use AI. What do you think about that? And authors starting to use AI?
Well, and of course, that's impacting everything, including the legal profession, big time. And I'd like never to hear those initials again, but that's not going to happen. And I'm a natural Luddite in deep in my heart and soul. So, but at the same time, I'm a big user of technology and the legal practice and everything else. So it's just very difficult to deal with. I don't know. But at the same time, whenever I Google something and get a quick answer that I would have had to go to a library for, maybe even a distant library for, in the old days, I have to think, that AI isn't all bad, but
It depends how you look at it, right? Because yes, you're saving time, you get the answer fast, but at the same time, there's something about taking your time and going to the library. It's a beautiful thing too, right?
You're so right. You're so right. I'm basically, I don't want anything to do with it in terms of actually writing and actually creating something. But beyond search engines, I'm just not for it. And it's incredibly scary. This very day, and I got to say, even though it has very pernicious consequences, I'm a big fan of YouTube. Why? Incredible philosophy, incredible literature, incredible dance, theater,
Music,
everything. I mean,
everything. Yeah.
it's just unbelievable. And
Yeah, me too.
but here you go. This morning they had on there, it's that crazy algorithm. You never know what you come up with, and it had Taylor, that her name, famous verse, Taylor Swift,
Oh, Taylor's.
on there saying that she was dumping, she had ended her engagement to Travis Kelce and then you figured it out, because she didn't want any player that could drop a football like he did. And that I don't know if you know what happened. And that Patrick Mahomes, his quarterback, called up and said he's over the hill. It was an AI fake video.
That's what I thought right away.
And I thought it was her just joking.
Yeah.
But it was a complete fake. It wasn't her. And that's what we're up against.
Yeah.
And that's why it's just the
Fakes,
scariest thing going. I mean,
yeah. I think we'll get good at identifying it. Yeah.
I
And
hope so.
technology will be there to help us to identify deep fakes. I think every time there's a risk, we're humans trying to find the way to deal with it. Not right away, but I think we're pretty good with that. If there's a risk, we create some technology to deal with it, to address all these issues. Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's looks like it's really hurting Hollywood. What's it done to the artists? What's it doing to actors in general? I mean, what's it doing for young lawyers? Or how much of what they did is going to be replaced? And maybe it just needs to. But it's funny. I've always done lots of research. I mean, I was a historian, for crying out loud. But as a lawyer, really did a lot of research, and totally wrapped up in books in the library. And when Westlaw came in,
Yeah.
you know, computerized stuff, I've always had to have an associate do anything that was related to that. And now I've watched as we now have no book. We're a firm of 1,200 lawyers. We have no books essentially in our library. And I joked, have you read or seen Fahrenheit 451? Ray Bradbury, and it's at a time when all books are being burned, and the people preserve literature by they become a book. Somebody becomes War and Peace, or The Sun Also Rises, or whatever, and they go out in the forest and recite these books to each other. It's the person, and this probably only lawyers will understand or appeal to it. But I would say, okay, now I'm going to be 453F second, which is a compendium of cases, just as boring as you could possibly get. But it's just incredible to think what's happening. But I know this, I'm going to keep it what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it the way I do it. I may do audiobooks or ebooks and all those kind of things. And what's funny, and I hated Amazon until I realized it was the only way I was going to ever sell any books. So hey, what am I going to do?
Yeah, it seems like it's all about balance, right? It's not always about the final product, it's about the process, right? Somebody enjoys painting. So I think we need to continue creating art. Everything what is done with our hands, it's always gonna have value.
You think about remote work. Just unbelievable what's done, how things have changed. I mean, I'm in a big office building right now, and even during the day, on a regular day with all these offices, it isn't half full of people. I mean, they're at home, it's not something I could, I always thought of a law firm as kind of a monastery, we were
You need
exchanging
to be there,
ideas,
yeah.
sort of thing. But
So you go to your office every day?
almost every day, yeah. I say this, if you want to see how I do remote work, go see The Shining. I don't know if you know what that movie is. There's a great scene in it. The guy's supposed to be a writer, and the people who've seen The Shining don't know exactly what I'm talking about. But and not that I can't work remotely, and I have for a long time, because I worked 7 days a week, day and night, and you do that from all over the place. But not to have that office environment and to have the interchange that occurs daily, often momentarily within it, is something really strange to me.
Yeah, there are definitely good things about remote work, that people can collaborate,
Yeah.
work with people in different countries, which is amazing. Or you can save time if you have to commute every day 2-3 hours a day.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
terrible. So if
Mute
you
people, I
can work
really
remotely
understand.
and still be part of this company where you can contribute, I think it's wonderful too. But I'm also agree with what you're saying. We need to have this human interaction to get everybody in the same room, and share ideas. So it's definitely, everything has place. Working remotely can have its value, and working in the office can be
Yeah, we
great
couldn't be
too.
doing this without all this technology. I mean,
Yes, yes. I usually ask my podcast guests about kindness. We did talk about love today, which is wonderful. And I also wanted to ask you about kindness. What does kindness mean to you? You told me that you have some complicated relationship with kindness.
I assume this happens to people as they age, not just me, but if I would be able to go back and change something, probably be that most of all. I wish I had been kinder. And I especially wish I'd been kinder to my wife, whether she deserved it or not. And she did deserve it, but, not always. And I'll tell you this, if there's any chance that a person you're close to will die before you better be kind to them, because you're going to have a lot of years to feel guilty about how you weren't. And
that's a very good message.
And also, I'm sure if you ask the people that worked with me over the years as a lawyer, they might respect me, they might like me, but I don't think they would say I was kind. And I don't completely regret that, because you can be too kind. And some people, and all of us, need something more than kindness. But I sure would like to have been kinder about things. But, lawyers are a warlike profession a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And, I came out of my childhood dealing with fear by anger, and so that's what I mean by it, by being complicated. I really believe you can be Pollyanna and too kind, and it doesn't help anybody in certain situations. But I know in most situations, in many situations, I could have been a lot kinder and wish I had been.
I think we all can think of the moments in our life when we could be kinder. And somebody told me that being kind, it's just who you are, a kind person. It's not what you do. But at the same time, I think most of us probably kind, but we need to take action and actively remind ourselves to be kinder today.
Yeah, and I wasn't a brute or a rotten bastard or something, but I put it this way, I've had people tell me I made them cry. Okay, so I'm sure I could have delivered the message better than I did.
Yeah. Oh, it's nice because I like how honest you are.
Yeah.
This is my podcast's tagline: connect genuinely, broaden your perspective, and share your passion. So being genuine, being real, I think this is very, very important, because often people say what other people want to hear, not what they actually think.
Yeah. And that's part of that, or that very trait probably is why I didn't seem so kind a lot of it's the tell it like it is.
You would say
tell it like it is thing, but I need to tell it like it is about myself too, not just about everything else. And
when it comes to work, I think I'm the same way too. I'm very direct. Yeah, and I think it's good. I think many people appreciate it. And I think it's also a part of my culture, because I was born in Russia, grew up in Ukraine. We're more direct. We do say what we think most of the time. Yeah, we don't sugarcoat it. So I think it's also a cultural aspect and professional aspect of that.
Yeah, I think if you can be kind as a lawyer, you're damn near ready for sainthood or something. I don't know. but that just may be my character defects.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your creativity. And could you please tell us where people can find your books and maybe connect with you?
Yeah, I have a website, danflaniganbooks.com. The only thing complicated about that, you can see how it's spelled up there. It's a little unusual spelling of Flanigan, Flanigan. The books are available in every format you can think of and in every place I can think of having them available. E-books, print books, audiobooks.
I hope we can connect again. We will be waiting for your next book.
Good, thank you. Yes, I may publish in December and not, quote, launch it, make it a big deal until January, February. But I really, the problem with being a self-published author, it's mostly good, and it's mostly, in my view, better than being with a traditional publisher. But there's a certain level that you can't get to. The New York Times is very unlikely, if ever, going to review your book if you're a self-published author. And there's a lot of that. I mean, the Edgar Award, which is a big mystery fiction, they don't accept self-published books still. And once you get over the fact that you've got to get validated in some other way than some editor at a press saying that your book was good enough, whoopee-doo, and you finally get that validation, it's much better owning your own intellectual property and all that. But there is a level that's really hard to get to in terms of exposure, and this next book especially is going to deserve that kind of exposure, and so I'm trying to figure out how to get it.
Well, I think I have an advice for you, so we can talk after.
Okay, good. That's great.
All right. Right. Or is there anything else we didn't discuss and you would like to mention?
We probably discussed a lot more than I wanted to.
I'm sorry.
No, you know what I mean. The problem with that being honest is, you never know how it's going to work out.
I appreciate you.